So we go clear into. We go. If we just did 2 video section down below. I hope I'm not injured.
Been allowed to be here. I vote that Skywalker be expelled from the Academy and removed from the Order indefinitely. The council again lit up with whispers and voices, some agreeing, some disagreeing. Yoda silenced them as his mouth opened, requesting Obi-Wan's thoughts on the matter. Kenobi would raise the point that to love someone is the Jedi way, to love all things that are good, and to promote the will of the Force as Qui-Gon believed. Ki-Adi-Mundi had a family of his own, and he was accepted on the council as a master, so why couldn't Anakin? The children of the Chosen One must be trained at the time. His chin was in deep thought. Kit Fisto spoke up as well, telling the council how he believed it was a beautiful thing that Anakin had found a reason beyond the way of the Jedi to live, and that he would bring a strong, force-attuned child into existence. Anakin bowed to Master Fisto for his kind words. Aayla Secura said she was in favor of the news as well. So did Ki-Adi-Mundi, of course, and Plo Koon. Mace Windu broke the voices, asking Anakin why he carried so much fear with him. The whole council could feel it. Yoda announced Anakin's premonitions of Padme's death, where the entire council would gasp. They knew what this may lead Anakin to do. Fear leads to the dark side. Yoda thought and thought inside his head. He knew the Jedi way needed to adjust, to grow, to adapt, just as Count Dooku and Qui-Gon saw. If they banished Anakin, he would resent them, and his fear of Padme dying may make him turn to the dark side.
Well, guys, we're playing at home. Well, and we're not injured, so that's a good thing.
And Padme ended up dying. They would do their best to console him and help him get over it. He knew what his decision was, announcing that Anakin stay in the Jedi Order with open arms. They would do their best to help him with his premonitions and fears. Yoda felt it was the right time to spend daily private meditation sessions with him, taking him to the restricted section and showing him the holocrons of the Sith, helping him find anything he could on avoiding death. Anakin would feel extremely happy, as if all of his troubles were lifted off of his shoulders. His bond with the Jedi Masters, except Mace Windu, would increase, and his daily meditation sessions with Yoda were definitely helping. Understanding that some premonitions are merely fears cast into projections that could lead him down an alternate path. So they are not always correct. It is the Jedi that decides the outcome of his life, not their thoughts and fears. Padme would give a healthy birth to Luke and Leia with Anakin by her side. They would be immediately enrolled into the temple. Palpatine's plans would backfire as everything relied on Anakin's turn to the dark side. He would continue to rise to power in politics. However, it was the supposed betrayal of the Jedi that helped Palpatine become the Emperor. So now he didn't have the same leverage. Bail Organa would be promoted instead, and the galaxy would take an entirely different approach to the future, focusing on peace and limiting war. Palpatine was ultimately enraged. Everything he worked towards amounted to his turn and the execution of Order 66. He needed to get an apprentice and fulfill the rule of two. But who? Would Darth Maul join him again, even though he killed his brother, Savage? He would leave Coruscant in the hopes of finding his old apprentice. Anakin and Padme would raise their children in the temple with the help of the Masters, reaching his full potential, growing stronger, with all at the Academy. They would spend their days filled with peace and love, a new understanding for the Jedi way, until one day, two Sith Lords would return to exact their revenge. What did you think of this turnout? I originally had Anakin leave just like how Ahsoka did, but there wasn't much depth to that story. He would essentially have just become a family man. If the council let Anakin stay, they would have literally bypassed all violence that was coming their way. But it would have led to a very climactic fight if Sidious and Maul did end up returning. I'm going to finish the last fanfiction that I did, which I promised a graphic novel giveaway to the winner. Now, while I do that, let me know if you'd like this to take a different turn, or to complete it in a part 2. Or maybe you feel it's good as it is. Either way, comment your thoughts down below, and I'll see you all in the next. With the events of Revenge of the Sith having taken place, our alternate story takes place just after she gives birth to Luke and Leia. When Padme says there's still good in him, referring to Anakin, instead of dying, she merely passes out due to exhaustion. Checking her vitals, Obi-Wan confirms with the droids that she is very much alive, just exhausted. To help him board Padme and the 2 newborn children on his ship, taking them to Tatooine. Dropping them off with the young Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, he tells them he will return. However, there is one thing he must do before then, and this is to find the only person who knows about any connection to the Skywalker family, the disgusting Watto. Tracking him down, Padme awakens with the familiar Owen and Beru by her bedside. Asking where her children are, they assure her everything is alright. Screaming for Anakin, she is given a tonic to calm her down. Upon Kenobi's return from dealing with Watto in whatever way he had to for the protection of the Skywalkers, he told Padme everything that had happened on Mustafar. Reluctant but eventually succumbing to the news about Anakin, she was determined to bring him back, telling Obi-Wan how she had sensed the good in him, telling her she's wrong and that Vader has killed Anakin, corrupted by his lust for power and to be the best. She disregarded anything than seeing Luke and Leia might. She left for her ship, Obi-Wan insisting he had to go with her. Padme defiantly refused, causing Obi-Wan to sneak onto her ship for the 6th time, just like he had so far. She sped through the galaxy towards the Empire's production of the Death Star, hoping Anakin may have something to do with it and be nearby. A general of some sort requesting for her identity to reveal herself as her ship entered the hangar of a massive Imperial vessel. She told them who she was and that she was to see Anakin. They forwarded the message to Emperor Palpatine, who had previously told Anakin she died in order to seal his fate to the dark side, causing him a cycle of endless pain and suffering. Upon overhearing that she was indeed alive and here to see him, Vader told the general to allow her to dock her ship aboard the hangar against the Emperor's orders. Vader immediately walked to see her, staggering as his relatively new prosthetic legs tottered towards the door of her ship. As it opened, he saw her run to him, then abruptly stopping once she caught sight of the masked mechanical monster he had turned into. Recognizing her fear, he removed his helmet only for a moment so that he could see her with his own eyes, revealing his burn scars and albino pigments. She could see his eyes were the same shade of blue as before. Running into his arms and hugging him, their height difference even more prominent now with his boots and cybernetics. She touched his face, expressing her love for him, to come back with her, to leave his life and continue theirs. He turned away, told her to join him here, that he could provide peace and protection for her. She walked back inside the ship, moments later returning with her arms carrying their newborn children. His knees buckled at the sight. Walking towards one another, he looked at Luke and Leia, touching their little cheeks with his massive robotic gloved fingers. "We need you," she said to him, as his children blankly stared up at their disfigured father, his eyes watering heavily. He looked back at the Emperor, who had begun to walk down to her ship, forbidding Anakin to leave, threatening to deactivate his suit if he disobeyed. Anakin, surprised, looked at the Emperor in horror. He wasn't his apprentice. He was his slave, his pet to do his bidding. This angered Anakin. Putting his helmet back on his head, motioning for Padme to get back into the ship, he ignited his lightsaber on the Emperor, only to fall to his knees as Palpatine deactivated his suit, causing his life support system to make it even more difficult to breathe. A second lightsaber was ignited. Anakin knew this was it. He was going to be killed by Palpatine, until he saw a familiar blue aura illuminate his face, as Obi-Wan Kenobi stepped between him and Darth Sidious. "Your reign is at an end, Your Highness," said Obi-Wan as he stood in his defense battle position, readying himself for the Emperor's attack. The Emperor fired forth lightning at Kenobi, who deflected it with his saber. Vader, still on his knees, threw his lightsaber to the Master, who is now wielding both sabers of light and dark at the Emperor, blocking lightning with one and inching closer with the other. Backed into a corner, the Emperor ignited his spare lightsaber, ending his lightning attack and ensuing in an epic battle to the death. Kenobi was no match for him. Even with his two lightsabers, he could not keep up. Sidious sliced his arm off and pushed him through the wall 30 feet behind. As he flew in the air, he threw Anakin and Lightyear, catching it and sustaining himself with force through his anger and determination. The master and apprentice squared off. Each of their blows created the biggest clashes the universe had ever seen. Padme ran to Obi-Wan, helping him onto the ship as Vader and Sidious continued to battle to the death. All the Imperial staff watching from all over like an old Roman gladiator arena. The battle looked like 100 police cars in pursuit at night, red and blue bursts illuminating the faces of all onlookers, wondering who their allegiance would be towards at just any moment. Obi-Wan saw Anakin was not the same fighter he had been on Mustafar, his obvious cybernetics causing him to appear slower and less fluid. The Emperor would have been no match for Anakin, but as Darth Vader, now, it was not so easy for the Chosen One. Not waiting for the fate of the galaxy to be turned to the Emperor's hand, Obi-Wan yelled at Anakin to push on 3, an old move they had practiced and mastered together in a previous life. On the count of 3, both Obi-Wan and Vader sent the most powerful force push they could towards the Emperor, sending him into the air and knocking him off his feet. Using this advantage, Vader boarded Padme's ship, leaving the Imperial vessel in the dust of the galaxy. Anakin, Padme, and their children sought refuge on a new planet every several months to outrun the Empire and stay hidden. Anakin was brought back to the light side of the Force through Padme's love and his children's need. He and Obi-Wan, through many years of attempting to settle their differences for the greater good of the children, would eventually train them to be the most powerful Jedi Knights in the galaxy, a dynamic duo of brother and sister eventually rising to overthrow the Empire and Darth Sidious as a whole. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Star Wars Theory. I thought I would do this little what-if scenario since you've all been asking so much for a what if Padme survived. There are many different renditions. Hey everyone, this will not just be a regular fan fiction, but a very factual one, confirmed by a passage from the book, The Rise of Darth Vader. As in the book, Vader thinks to himself about the very what-if scenario regarding this question, and the events that would have changed if it took place. I've done many videos regarding passages from the book, however, I'll quote a particular one here from Vader's thoughts in the third person for our premise in this video. And yet, if the High Council had seen fit to recognize his power, had granted him the status of master, perhaps he could have abided by their continued existence. But to call him the Chosen One only to hold him back, to lie to him and expect him to lie for them, what had they imagined the outcome would be? Old fools. Right here, we can clearly see that it is very much true that if
No.
Anakin was indeed granted the rank of master as he had expected, then him as the Chosen One yet denied him the same rank as the masters on the council, who were much weaker and less talented than he was. Apart from the shot to his ego, a large reason he wanted to become a master was to be granted further access into the Jedi archives, particularly the Sith archives that resided locked only for the masters on the council, and select masters at that. Let's begin our fanfiction today just after this scene that I've edited here. Enjoy.
Disturbing is this move by Chancellor Palpatine. Understand? You are on this council. We grant you the rank of master.
What?
After this, Anakin would be extremely elated. Obi-Wan would ask him to spy on the Chancellor, and Anakin, now having his trust fully regained in the Council's sound decisions to make him the master, he would oblige and do his duty, leading the story to this scene right here.
Certainly. What did you say? Use my knowledge. I beg you. You're the Sith Lord. I'm going to turn you over to the Jedi Council.
After this, Anakin would go to Master Windu just as he had done originally. However, the conflict within him would be much less. Now trusting Windu completely and respecting his wisdom, he would ask him one last thing before he left. He would inquire about the ability to save those he loved from dying. Windu would tell him that it is not the Jedi way to control life. However, Master Yoda has been studying hard on his communications with Qui-Gon Jinn from the other realm.
Yoda. Oh,
I
Yoda spoke with Master Qui-Gon Jinn on Mortis, did you not? Yes.
Now, in the Clone Wars, Anakin did come across Yoda, who was speaking to Qui-Gon, and also spoke to his Force ghost on Mortis. So he knew this was a possibility, and if anyone could help him, it would be his original master, who wasn't so straight-edged as the Council was. Master Windu would tell Anakin to wait for Master Yoda to return through Kashyyyk in order to learn Qui-Gon's secrets and perhaps even speak with him through the Force. Until then, he should remain in the council chambers until his dealings with Palpatine were over, assuring him if what he had just told him was true, then he would have solidified his trust and he would show Skywalker all the scrolls in the restricted section of the archives as well. At ease, Anakin would end up in the scene here. However, regardless of how happy he was with the council and his new reign, he would still be immensely conflicted with the thoughts of Padme, wondering if he would fail her just like he did his mother. His impatience and fear got the best of him. Rushing to see what had happened between Palpatine and Mace, we now arrive at this scene here.
Guys, I'm gonna be right back.
I'm going to end this once and for all. You can't.
Where Anakin would tell Mace that he needs him. Mace would then understand why he needed him in the first place, assuming Palpatine promised him some sort of Sith ability to cheat death. He would look at Anakin and tell him if the Sith discovered a way to cheat death, he could be sure that Yoda, with all his years, had discovered something about it too, reminding him